And welcome back to the Deep Threats Podcast. It is
Podcast.
Your host here, KJAM, as always, and your wonderful co-host, Wheels.
It is Monday Night Football, and hopefully the refs don't intervene. Yes, I'm talking about the Chiefs, if you don't already know.
All right. Before we get into any of that, we wanted to let you guys know we suck. You already knew that. We forgot to pick the Dallas game over Carolina. But single-handedly, we both actually came to the conclusion. We said Dallas would have won anyways.
Yeah, so. It's not like that game mattered, let's be honest. Because it didn't. We both would have taken Dallas. Like you said, so, yeah. Sorry, Carolina.
I would argue it kind of doesn't matter. Dallas, their final 5 games are against really good opponents, and they might not make the playoffs if they didn't win that game.
Well,
so I think it did matter for them, not Carolina.
Yeah, Dallas is kind of in the same boat as Miami. Miami did win against the Raiders. They did struggle. They did struggle against Aiden O'Connell, rookie quarterback. But my issue with both those teams, like I said, the schedule you play, the schedule you get, I understand that. But it's how you show up against good teams. And if you beat the bad teams, that's fine. You know what? You should. That's football. But if you can't beat the good teams, then you're any other team, you're average. And Dak has been known to struggle against some of the good teams.
So speaking of quarterbacks that do really good against good teams, how about Russell, baby?
Well, we've been on the Russell train for what?
Beginning of the year, week 3.
So I was gonna say 7 weeks. So yeah.
I would say week 3. We
had them in our top 10.
They've been losing, but Russell wasn't playing they were like their record.
No, we said Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are not the problem. It's the defense side of the ball that was the dominant force last year. Kind of just disappeared for the first few weeks, and they have kind of come back into their own. They did pretty good against the Vikings. Obviously, there were some bad plays for Joshua Dobbs and the Vikings, but I'm not taking anything away from Denver. That was a great game by Russell Wilson. Another great catch by Cortland Sutton. He has been amazing this year going up those 50-50
at least the last
balls.
2 games. At least the last 2 games.
But yeah, Russell Wilson,
he's probably got Cortland Sutton probably has a catch of the year. If you guys hadn't seen at last week's game, Cortland Sutton had this phenomenal sideline catch in the end zone.
No, but
I don't even know. I think he erased some of the white. It was an amazing
I thought
catch.
it wasn't a catch. And I had him on my fantasy team last week.
When you looked full speed, you're like, no, it's not a catch. And then you went back and you zoomed and you're like...
And there was there might have been one single blade of grass between him and his toe.
Pubic hair.
Pretty much.
Pubic hair.
But yeah, like I said, Russell Wilson, he's getting a lot of hate. He's not the problem right now. He's not.
It's the defense.
It's 100% been the defense.
And the defense has been stepping up. I mean, it really... And I know I bashed PS2 during the last show,
Patrick
but
Stain, yeah.
I only bashed it because the stat was incorrect. I don't like somebody giving you bad stats, especially when if you're betting on these games. And you're PS2 doesn't give up yards, and then you go up against let's just say JJ were to play that game, or Addison, you're like, PS2 ain't gonna give up no yards, and it's not accurate.
Speaking of JJ, do you think he plays this upcoming week? Because I think they are now in a boat of what happens if we lose this upcoming week, because they are now, 6-5, because they have yet to have their bye. Their bye is week 13. I personally think, regardless, you sit JJ. Whether since you lost that Broncos game or you and I would have sit JJ. Now the question is, do you start him? I would not. Why hurry back your investment?
So let me say this. I don't think... So currently they're
8th. Right.
Solid wild card spot.
Yeah, they're not winning the division.
Without bringing JJ.
Let's be honest. Yeah, they're not winning.
I mean, they can.
They can, but
the division's in their own hands.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I'm gonna tell you right now, for the people that play fantasy, they don't give 2 shits about your fantasy team.
But there's in the NFC.
They don't.
In the NFC, you have the Seattle Seahawks are 6-3. You have Minnesota who's 6-4, and then you have Dallas who's 6-3. Those 3 teams are wild cards. Everybody under them, 4 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins.
They have a wild card spot locked.
Pretty close.
Yeah,
pretty close. The only other team that would be a battle for the wild card, shockingly, won a game yesterday, right? And the Green Bay Packers. And if they continue to play like they played against the Chargers, Green Bay could compete in that division to steal a wild card spot from them. So they have to keep their record better than Green Bay.
Yeah, another quarterback who had a good game yesterday was Jordan Love. Obviously, the Chargers with the Chargers defense shot themselves in the foot, but that's, again, nothing to take away from Jordan Love. He looked very good in that game. It was another, confidence builder for him. I don't know if they're going to keep Love after this year. I would like to see them.
And actually,
but he's on a 1-year deal, so it's all dependent on what he wants.
I would argue Minnesota's
Money-wise.
destiny is in their own hands, because if their upcoming games are the Bears, right? That's going to be a tough win.
Bears are tough. With Justin Fields back, like you said, that is not the same Bears team. With
you got to put
They
put points on the board.
Yeah.
The Raiders, it's going to be another tough one, right?
Antonio Pierce has turned that whole team around.
Bengals, we would argue, is probably going to be an easy one at this point.
Bengals, yeah. The Bengals, the defense, like we said, is bottom tier. Middle
of the pack. It's middle of the pack, but the offense without Joe Burrow is probably not going to be the same.
Even Jamar Chase, you're still going to struggle. Jamar Chase is not going to finish as the top 5.
And then Minnesota goes Packers, Lions. So they could win first place in the division depending on how the Lions do.
You need at that point, you need to beat the Raiders. You pretty much have to go 5-3 the rest of the way. Or no, they have their bye. So
I would say,
how many games are left? I can't.
There's 7 weeks. I think they have.
So at this point, they have to go 4-3 at the worst to make a wild card spot.
They have 6 games left.
Okay, so 4-2 then I would have to say, because then you're at.
I think they got to go 4-2.
Yeah.
If they want to win the division, I think they got to go 4-2.
And 2 of those one of those losses is gonna be not in division. So you're going to have to lose to like the Raiders.
They might have a bye. Minnesota has a bye too. Yeah, so they have a bye. Yeah. So they have to go 4-2. Now the Lions don't have a bye because their bye was early.
No. And the Lions defense has been struggling.
They played the Packers. Division game. It's going to be tough.
And
it's a division game.
And that's at home. Detroit's at home.
Yes. They play the Saints at home at the Saints.
Another tough defense.
They played the Bears at the Bears. That's another division game.
Yeah, Jared Goff he struggled heavily in the first half, 3 interceptions.
They play the Broncos.
Another tough defense that has been stepping up.
Vikings, which I said, that lies in their hands. Cowboys. Vikings. So the Lions have a little bit harder of a path at the end of the season than Minnesota. So I think Minnesota's hands, it's in their own hands.
Yeah,
they have to win 2 from Detroit.
Yeah.
If Minnesota wants first place, they got to take 2 from Detroit.
Yeah, you have to. At this point, you have to win every division game, obviously. So you have to win.
Yeah.
You have to win both against the Lions. You have to win against the Packers and the Bears.
Hey, thanks for the likes in the chat too. By the way, I appreciate it from you all out there watching the show. If you can, please continue to like and subscribe. We are here. We are going to continue talking football, but we are going to just kind of recoup over what happened this Sunday. A few things we talked about that kind of we said would go this way, and then the other things we said it would go, and we chose the other option. So, like I said, the Green Bay game, I said I had an insider. My sister was at the game, and I said every time my sister's at the game, Green Bay wins. She was at the game against Pittsburgh, but they lost. So I didn't really bring that up because it wasn't in Wisconsin. So when she goes to the home games, they win, and they ended up winning that game. Even though me and you took the Chargers, I kind of told everybody, hey, guys, you probably should bet.
Yeah, and speaking of the Chargers, is Brandon Staley going to be fired at the end of the year? I think he is.
I think according to what ESPN said, that the Mexicans don't make a change too often until the end of the season. So if you don't get fired on ESPN, YouTube, leave me out of this. I'm just saying what ESPN said is Mexican ownership doesn't make changes too rashly.
ESPN said that? Holy shit.
I'm just saying. I would have just said Santa Claus shit. I would have just said ownership. I don't know if I would have diagnosed anything with their background,
their racial,
their ethnicity. I mean, I probably would have just said ownership's not too rash.
Houston game. Now Houston's made that division a fist fight with the Jags, who they play this week. I have a feeling whoever wins that game this week will win the division. I know that's there's a lot of weeks left, but I'm going to tell you this one. Whoever wins that game.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Well, they still have to play each other one more time, I believe.
No.
Oh, no. Yeah,
they beat Jacksonville early in the season.
They did. I'm sorry. I thought they had one more game left. But no, regardless, whoever wins that game is going to win the division.
Who would have thought, man, that
CJ Stroud would have been this good? Oh.
Arizona's pissed off that they traded that pick.
No, you know who's really pissed off? Is the Panthers for drafting Bryce Young. They traded
Give me another year. Give him another year. I'm not out on Bryce Young yet. I understand our arguments with Bryce Young, but I've seen some phenomenal throws from Bryce Young, and I've seen some consistency from Bryce Young. Give it another year.
I'm going to defend Bryce Young, yes. He does not have the offensive weapons that CJ Stroud.
Nor the offensive line. The offensive line wasn't good with Sam Darnold there, or Baker there, or Cam Newton there. Like, the offensive line has been horrible. And PJ Walker had to run. Like,
what do I say about rookie quarterbacks? Give me 3 years.
And my thing is, like, it's not that I'm
Except for Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, but I was dead wrong about Kenny Pickett.
I personally am not going to say Bryce Young was ever going to be better than CJ Stroud. I've said this conversation with you guys before. But I'm not going to say Bryce Young is going to be worse than Kenny Pickett, which is what he looks like right now. I'm not going to say he's worse than Zach Wilson, which is what he looks like right now.
To be honest, I would take Bryce Young over Kenny Pickett and Zach Wilson.
I'd probably take Bryce Young over Brock Purdy, and I know a lot of people would harass me for that. But when you look at what Bryce Young's having to do, he's opening the field.
So
he's doing his best to extend plays and get the ball to his receivers. He's got a top 10 receiver in Adam Thielen, and that's not because Adam Thielen's anything standoutish. It's because yak-wise, Adam's been doing great.
Yeah.
But targets-wise, he's finding Thielen on the field.
He's utilizing the open field.
Right. So I'm not gonna really kind of point out one guy. Like, let's be honest, and I'm a huge fan of players like DJ Chark and Thielen and Terrace Marshall. I have actually been a fan of a lot of these guys.
I like Terrace Marshall.
The problem is, like, I'm not putting any of these guys outside of Thielen. I'm not putting any of these guys in the top 30 in the NFL.
None of these guys are wide receiver 2s on any team right now.
Or wide receiver 1s.
No.
Not even Thielen. Thielen's only a wide receiver 1 because he knows how to hit the slot. Like, he knows how to find open spot on the field.
Yeah, like you said, utilization. But going back to the Brock Purdy thing, I don't disagree with you because people are going to hate to hear it, but Brock Purdy, I don't want to call him a system quarterback, but I feel like any other quarterback in that system, obviously not Zach Wilson, but certain quarterbacks would do just as well, if not better, than Bryce Young.
I'm not Trey Lance either.
No, not Trey Lance. But you put Bryce Young in that situation. I don't think like you said, I don't think Bryce Young's going to be as bad as he is now.
Here's my point: I'm not discounting Brock Purdy's ability. I'm just saying I think Bryce Young is better than Brock Purdy.
You're using it as an example.
Yes, I get it. Bryce and Brock Purdy. Say what you will, right? Like, and I asked that question: is Brock Purdy the real deal this year? I asked that like week 4, week 5, when Brock Purdy statistically was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, right? He wasn't turning the ball over, but
then you had 3 losses.
Great point is he hasn't played from behind.
No,
and when have they put the ball on his shoulders?
That's the thing, though, with quarterbacks. The thing that separates an average quarterback to an elite quarterback is, can you go in and win on that final drive?
And I completely agree with you.
That's what separates the men from the boys in the NFL quarterback.
I agree. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not out on Bryce Young.
But like you said, with CJ Stroud, he 46 seconds left, no timeouts. He drove down the field against the Buccaneers secondary, which is a good secondary and won. So I'm not ready to say he's elite by any means. I'm not there yet. I'm not. But he is definitely a star that is starting to brighten up in my eyes.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just I'm not out.
I'm not on Bryce Young. Like I said, give me 3 years. I know it's fun to bash.
One of these games that happened this weekend, the Dallas vs. Carolina game, which we were talking about Bryce Young. Deron Bland, bro. He's arguing for Defensive Player of the Year. 4 pick sixes. He's got it right now. He's tied for an NFL record. If he gets it again, he's going to break an NFL record.
Let me ask you this. Trayvon Diggs is up for a contract, I believe, next year.
I don't think you cannot have both of them. I think both of them makes your team eliter. Like, and I know it's
more elite. More elite.
Eliter.
Hey, look at that. I'm correcting his grammar. I'll get his.
That's redneck, man. Eliter.
Elite.
That's when you're more elite than the previous guy. Eliter.
It's a later.
But I personally think that Deron Bland is also a very young guy who's trying to get a contract, and he's playing lights out.
Up until he made a name for himself in Dallas, I wasn't sure who this guy was.
Agreed.
I don't.
Agreed. I don't think most of the NFL knew who he was.
No. And like we said, over half the NFL is what? Undrafted.
I don't know if he was undrafted.
I don't think he was, but I'm just saying there's a lot of guys who don't make a big name for themselves in college that produce.
But CD had a decent day, right? CD did decent. Dak was showing that Dak was not untouchable, but
he was a 5th-round pick in 2020.
Dak did not play...
Or 2022, sorry.
Dak did not play the same Dak of the weeks prior.
But you gotta
we knew
remember,
that wasn't going to be sustainable for Dak.
Carolina's secondary is not bad. It's their defensive line, offensive line is where the struggle, as well as offense or wide receiver. Their secondary is not awful. Teams have had C.J. Stroud struggled against that secondary. He lost that game.
Yeah, Dak was 25 for 38. He started like 12 for 24. It was horrendous. 189 yards. So Dak did not have a decent day, but CD, on the other hand, had 79 yards on 6 receptions. So half the yardage from Dak was CD.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Cooks had 30 yards and a touchdown.
Was Brandon Cooks the other guy? Finally, Brandon Cooks is well, no, Michael Gallup did have a decent. So they all had 70 yards, it looks like. Michael Gallup, where you at, bro? 35. So he went 3 for 5.
But this is another team who I could easily see if they falter in the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, do they fire McCarthy?
No. He said he's never going to fire McCarthy.
Yeah, Jerry Jones says.
Jerry Jones straight up came out and said, "I'm not firing McCarthy." So that's a no. And I know you're a typical NFL fan. You just want to see change.
On certain teams, yes.
Brandon Staley
should be fired.
I'm not like that.
No, Brandon Staley should be fired. Arthur Smith should be fired.
I'm not like that.
Other than that, I don't. But what did I say? On average, the NFL, I think it's 4.9 coaches get fired every year.
And 1 analyst. I'm just kidding. I was looking.
I can't get fired if I'm not getting paid.
Hey! This is volunteer basis only. You don't get paid here. So that being said,
I get paid in food.
That was one of the games we didn't cover. Chicago stood out against Detroit's defense.
You called that, though. You said that Chicago team is completely different offensively with Justin Fields.
That's not what I said. What I said is Detroit's not good against running quarterbacks.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we've called out Detroit's defense the recent few weeks. And with Dan Campbell being a defensive coach, there's kind
so
of
there was 3
struggling.
games yesterday, right? There was 3 games yesterday. It was the Raiders. They held on to that game to the end. It was Chicago. They held on to that game to the end. And then it was Arizona. They held on to that game to the end. By the way, C.J. Stroud is going to be the best quarterback in the NFL one day because the dude threw 3 picks and still won the game.
Hey, Jared Goff did it too.
Yesterday?
Jared Goff threw 3 picks.
Was it only 3? I thought it was like 9. Every time I turned around, he was throwing the ball to the opposing team.
He was seeing ghosts per Zach Wilson.
It is pretty bad. But both, again, Detroit came out and won, Houston came out and won, and Miami came out and won. Miami finally took a team who was 500
or better
and beat them. Well, they were 500.
It only took 420 days.
They are no longer 500, by the way. So does that count?
Technically, because
they're 5 and 6.
If you ask, but I don't care. It's just I want to see who's.
But they didn't cover. Weren't they favored by like 14?
13 and a half.
They did not cover that, which we did say take Raiders.
We said it was gonna be. Let me see what my score was. I had the Raiders 21-17.
What did I have them at?
You had the You took. Where's that? You took Miami 35-24, so 11. You still didn't. You still take.
I still took the Raiders to
cover.
But yeah. Giants put an ass whooping on Washington, which was unexpected, which nobody here thought.
I feel like there's always one game a week like that.
We just feel like the Giants decided to play one day and not play one day.
Well, they included. Well, maybe Tommy DeVito's mom put something a little extra in his protein.
Tommy DeVito, bro, keep cooking because you're about to win a job if Daniel Jones don't come back. I'll tell you that right now.
They already said they're not giving up on Daniel Jones.
You can't. You don't have that option if you continue to win games with Tommy DeVito.
When he's making $30-something million, you kind of have to. That's a lot of dead cap, dude.
It's a great backup quarterback. You're not paying Tommy DeVito. How much do you have in the quarterback room totally?
That'd be like DTR popping off and Watson being a
All right, Tampa Bay, San Francisco. Going over that one really quick. San Francisco whooped Tampa Bay's ass. Kind of said it.
No. San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco whooped Tampa Bay's ass. Did I say that backwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said
San Francisco whooped Tampa Bay's ass.
I might have heard that wrong, but I think
no, I did. I think I said it's Tampa Bay whooped San Fran's, but so 100%. Like I straight up said, Tampa Bay is not that good. Baker is so good, but Baker hasn't played any defense. He's playing in the worst division in the NFL. He still can make the playoffs. But
Baker is your average game manager. I hate to say it, but he is.
I don't know. Like, at a week like this, Sam Howell and Baker look the same. So this is, and I comp them to each other. So
You have since the beginning.
But you know who else was phenomenal this week? Buffalo showed up, even though there was some turnovers by Josh Allen. They still whooped the Jets' butt.
I did
32-6.
What I say? I think he would have at least one turnover.
I think he had 2 or 3, right?
Josh Allen has had a turnover every week this year.
And that's fine.
Oh, sorry, every week except for the week against Miami and Las Vegas. So 2.
And that's fine. I mean, Seattle tried to sneak out a win against the Rams, but the Rams came up ahead.
Oh, yeah, when you have
17-6.
Gino go out and Drew Lock go 2 for 6 for 3 yards, and one of those throws was an interception.
I was gonna say, and on top of that, their kicker missed the game-winning field goal. So
it pays to have a kicker, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Just ask the Browns. We have like 4 wins or 3 wins.
And then the final game of that day yesterday was Minnesota-Denver. And like we said earlier, Denver came up with a win in that game. And I will say Denver may have murdered 2 players on the field. Josh Dobbs' head they're still trying to find it. And Alexander Madison, it still doesn't know where he's at.
I thought they chopped him in half.
But to be honest with you, I think they...
You did say...
I think they fined Alexander Madison for getting hit in the head.
You did...
Not a lot to lower your head. Not a lot to lower your head as a running back. Just an FYI.
You did say, I'm taking Minnesota, but bet Denver.
I really, truly thought Denver was going to win that game, but I had a hard time stepping away from the Josh Dobbs Minnesota hype. I really enjoy Minnesota, and I really want to see Josh Dobbs succeed. And I said to you, I think during the show, that this was more of an emotional pick for Minnesota. We're fans right now for Minnesota. I'm kind of emotionally involved in this team. So that being said, enough about Sunday Night Football. Let's get into the most ridiculous game you are going to see this year. It is the Super Bowl replay. And we need to know who paid the refs before today's game so we can make bets.
Well, it's in Kansas City, so I'm guessing it's Kansas City.
All right, so let's go with that.
Straight cash, homie.
I'm going to say that Kansas City is definitely not going to win this game. But caveat, and I'm not picking the Chiefs. Travis Kelce will still have a great game because Philly sucks against tight ends. Straight up.
And Philly is without Dallas Goedert.
So,
but I'm taking Philly as well. Everybody says, oh.
Now, it is rainy.
Andy Reid is 27-4 coming off a bye. Guess what? Sometimes records have to change.
Okay, here's what I will tell you. If you guys are out there betting, right? If you're out there betting, it's rainy, it's wet, it's cold. Who has the better run and who has the better front four? And this is tough because when you're looking at these teams...
I'll take Swift over Pacheco all day.
Right. But when you're looking at these teams, who's given up the most points all season? And it's been Philly. The Kansas City Chiefs have given up the least amount of points. I think they're the second least amount of points by any other team.
I did say Philly does have an older secondary. I said they should have went more corner in the draft.
Points per game. San Francisco at 15.7. Kansas City Chiefs at 15.9.
Who have they played?
The ghost of Joe Flacco. I don't know. Don't ask stupid questions. So they played Detroit, and they lost to Detroit, 21 points to begin the season. They played Jacksonville, whooped their butt. They played Chicago. Well, this is after Chris Jones came back, too. Let's not forget about that. Yep. They signed Chris Jones. Jacksonville.
After the Detroit game.
Yep. Jacksonville was also at a slump then, too. Chicago, they only gave up 10 there. They played the Jets, gave up 20 to the Jets, gave up 20 to Minnesota. They gave up 8 to Denver. Then they gave up 17 to the Chargers. Then
those struggling teams.
On the reverse side, they lost to Denver. They gave up 24. And then they beat Miami and only gave up 14. So I would say Miami. So I would say beating Miami and only giving up 14
was their biggest win.
Is their biggest win defensively.
Yeah. Outside of that, there's no wow. This will be a wow. If the Chiefs win, I will consider them obviously a.
Yeah, I would say probably their big wows. Now, Justin Jefferson, we had this conversation, went out in the Minnesota game, so they might have lost that game. But there was a huge controversial call in that game. I remember that one.
Oh, there was a huge controversial call in the Vikings game and the Jets game?
Well, it was the Jets, the Vikings, and then I think there was some Denver controversy immediately after this. So it was 3 games, like, straight controversial calls.
I know we talk about the refs a lot on this show, and we're going to because...
they're part of the game.
They do matter.
Especially when you're making a bet and they're calling back your passing.
Yeah, it does. Well, I got screwed in the Zay Flowers touchdown last week.
Yep.
I had him an anytime touchdown. Sucks. I'm a Browns fan. I get it, but that still should have been touchdown. And I'm gonna say that. But obviously going against the Chiefs.
The Ravens should have scored 7 more. The Browns would have never won ever.
I can't say that, but the Chiefs.
You just said it.
I think you still don't know if they would have won, or you wouldn't have won. But at some point, the NFL or the fans or somebody needs to investigate these refs or hold them accountable, whether it's fines or suspensions. And I know they are part of the NFLPA. I believe you said the refs are, but if you're going to hold players accountable at certain aspects, shouldn't the same be said for the rest of the league?
I think that Wheels needs to get off the ref spot and just let them play some football. Because at this point, sorry for that. At this point, we're just talking football. The refs are going to be an impact in this game. I'm not going to disagree with this. I'm not going to disagree with this all. These are very handsy teams. They're very defensive teams. The refs are going to have an impact in this game. But I will say, based on the last week's games, I saw a lot of no calls. Now, it could just be the fact that I watched the Browns and Mike Tomlin is the head of the National Safety Committee for the NFL, and that there was like 0 holding calls in that game and 0 pass interference calls in that game and 0 face mask calls. I don't know.
One.
It was one face mask.
One
You're right. And I think they were both on the Browns for some odd reason.
No, they were both on the Steelers. Actually.
Oh, maybe that's why Tomlin was so angry.
There was holding against Joey Porter Jr. on the Amari Cooper stutter step, and then there was a face mask.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There was a face mask on Jerome Ford.
But not the ones in the end zone. And God forbid we know how to call a safety. But this is my thing. Like, this is bad refs.
This is where I'm going to differ from some people. When it's that late in the game, there's going to be hand fighting. I understand a lot of fans hate that there was no PI there, but there was hand fighting by both sides. At the end of the game, towards the final drive, Amari Cooper.
Was it Amari Cooper or was it David Njoku getting punched in the face before he caught the ball?
David Njoku, that should have been 100% a pass.
That should have been flagrant.
Yeah, but the Cooper, I'm okay with them not calling, but the Njoku even saying, hey, he punched me, he said. Because he clubbed him right in the face.
Dude, he clubbed him right in the face. I want to see you catch a ball.
Did you hear what the announcer said? He's like, oh, that's just part of the sport. Part of the sport. This ain't hockey.
Well, he said that, and he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that's an interference. Yeah.
It is an interference, but look,
yeah. You know what's funny? Gene Steratore was on our side all day. I watched that game, and he's like, yeah, that was a safety. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why he didn't challenge that. No, I know why he didn't challenge that, because it's 2 points, and then you challenge the touchdown, you got the touchdown. So you have to be cautious on how you challenge, and if your defense held them, you're not as stressed about 2 points as you are about 6. So let's be honest there. So be calm in that situation.
I don't hate that.
But going into Kansas City, the Philadelphia Eagles, we're going to go on some prop bets here. Okay, so there's no Dallas Goedert, right? So I got Kelsey for over 70, possibly a score. I don't like a score for him, to be honest with you, because I think that
Pacheco's going to steal one.
I think Patrick Mahomes might run one in today. Okay. There's a guy by the name of
Jerick McKinnon.
Justin.
Not Reed.
Is it Justin Reed?
No, Justin Ross.
No, it's not Ross. Ross is the guy that's not playing.
Is he the one that got arrested for
assault
or abuse or whatever?
Justin Watson.
Justin Watson.
Justin Watson might be a good one today against those corners. He's a big guy. So I can see Justin Watson having a touchdown today. But I think I only see 2 touchdowns by the Chiefs today, honestly, with this weather. And I agree with you, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. And
this could be a fluke Kadarius Toney touchdown. 6 yards.
Kind of like that screenplay where he just the yards after the catch. But I don't know if Toney's active, is he?
It'll be like a Toney or a Rashee Rice.
Kadarius Toney and Andy Reid says Chiefs are being careful with his usage. That was 7 days ago. So he's in. I don't know.
All right, so anytime touchdowns. Kadarius Toney, Pacheco, A.J. Brown, and obviously, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts with the tuck push. Or tush push.
I'll go. I don't like that. I prefer Swift.
But Swift doesn't get the red zone.
No, it's going to be a breakaway one. I'd prefer Swift, and then I'd prefer...
Let me see what that bet would be.
It would be shocking if Zacchaeus...
The case.
Yeah, it would be shocking if Olamide actually had a touchdown.
The case.
I actually like Devontae. And a lot of people might say you're biased. I like Devontae Smith in this game, just because I know that
the Calvin Ridley game.
They're going to be all over A.J. Brown, because they know if A.J. Brown gets his hands on the ball, it's going to be deadly. They know this.
A.J. Brown's going up against Trent McDuffie.
I just know that they're going to be all over A.J. Brown this game. A.J. Brown's still going to probably go 6 or 7 receptions for 80 to 100 yards. I just think that when you're looking at Devontae Smith, he's a slot receiver in this offense. And there could be a random Julio Jones touchdown. With Julio Jones being back, and they might spread the ball since they don't have a tight end, this could be a random Julio Jones touchdown. He got one against Washington when he was targeted twice. He's got 2 receptions on the year since they've signed him, and one of them's a touchdown. So I think they might be targeting him in the red zone. So, but that being said, I do see a low-scoring game here. I do see a 24-17 win for Philly. I don't see anything too crazy about this game. I think it's going to be a huge defensive battle. And then from there, I think we're going to move into a lot of the run game, because if the weather is as they say it is, I'm not in Kansas City. I don't live in Kansas City. I would never want to live in Kansas City based on coffee shop arguments. You can't wear certain hats in Kansas City, or people just come over and rip them off your head and yell at you.
I feel like it's the same in Philly.
I wouldn't live in Philly either. I'm gonna be honest with that one.
Go wear a Dallas.
I can't carry a gun, but I can get robbed in a Quickie Mart.
You might get shot.
Or in a, what is it called? What's the Wawa?
A drive-through
gas
station.
But yeah, so like, that's what I see. I see Philly winning 24-17.
Okay,
Jalen Hurts for over 200. I take Jalen for over 40 rushing yards in this game.
I got 21-17. I have DeAndre Swift having 80 scrimmage yards. I have Hurts rushing touchdown. I have him throwing 250 passing yards.
Jalen Hurts?
And an interception.
250.
I do think that Mahomes has 2 turnovers, whether that's obviously 2 interceptions or a interception and a fumble. And then I think you're going to see obviously Pacheco involved, but I think you're going to see more McKinnon involved too in some of these checkdowns.
I mean, Mahomes has turned the ball over as much as Josh Allen, so I can see that.
Yeah, but he's the baby face of the NFL, so you can't say that, dude. How many interceptions does he have?
How many touchdowns did he have against Denver?
None. He was sick. He had the flu.
He was mad because Travis and him didn't go out the night before because he was with Swift.
No, he's mad because Kelsey's got a hotter girlfriend.
I don't know.
I can't say that.
Taylor Swift looks like she's 12 still.
Taylor Swift looks like a plank. I'm sorry. She does. She ain't got tits.
Travis Kelce's dating a stick figure, married or dating a stick figure.
I think I have more ass than Taylor Swift. Just ask my wife.
And by the way, he looks like a plank without a hoodie on. Just an FYI. So like, there ain't much meat there either. Just ask his wife. Go Eagles! Hey, Race, good to see you in chat, brother.
Where have you been? I've missed you. And you're
met him. I don't know if you're a female or a male. Yeah. I just said brother. I met him. I don't know.
You haven't.
In today's society, you get to pick. So
they haven't disclosed that yet.
They have not.
So do you have any possible upsets with this game? Upsets, I meaning by crazy plays.
Yeah, Mahomes out for the year. That's an upset.
That never happens, dude.
I'm just saying, I've seen 5 quarterbacks go down. I would not be shocked if a Patrick Mahomes dealing with an ankle injury and a Jalen Hurts dealing with a knee injury, one of these quarterbacks go out in this game. I mean, I would not. Like, we just saw Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson go back in back-to-back weeks. I did 49ers 13.5 against the Bucks. Oh, that's a poor decision.
Yeah, I would not have bet that line.
Yeah,
we lost by half a point.
See, if you would have watched us, we would have told you not to bet that line because we said that they're not going to cover.
I'm going to tell you this about betting. You never go with the halves. Buy a point all day long. Tease that shit all day long. You have to because that's what it's going to burn you.
Well, that's the point of it.
Oh, no, a tease technically would have pushed either
That's
way,
the point of the point. That's the point of the half, though, right? That's the point.
Yeah, that's why you buy
Yeah.
points.
I don't know how to buy points on FanDuel. Like
I don't know if you can. Oh,
I don't think you can.
I used to do betting other ways years ago. I can't say that.
You can if you bet out of state. Wink, wink.
That's what I was betting in Pittsburgh, man.
You bet through a bookie. The bookie does the rest.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't condone
I
any.
learned my lesson.
I don't condone any of this illegitimate conversation.
Yeah, double digits is hard in the NFL.
No, there was only one double digit, I think, in Sunday's games, and only one team covered it, and it was Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo. Oh no, Buffalo was not favored by double digits.
I think it was 9.5.
7.5, according to that.
Because both Dallas didn't, or not Dallas.
Miami did not cover.
I think Dallas did cover. Miami didn't cover, and Niners didn't cover.
Dallas did cover.
Dallas did cover. Okay.
Yeah, Dallas did cover.
Well,
Dallas was not double digits.
Okay.
It was 8.5. It was 8.5.
Double digits point spread is very hard to cover in the NFL. It's NCAA, different story. I don't even bet NCAA. It's too hard. But NFL, you don't see blowouts often because all these teams are just, at the end of the day, they're very evenly matched when it comes to game time. Maybe not on paper, but game time out on the field.
Race, you got to understand something about the Niners, too. It's not that they're fakers. They're not a secondary team. So you can sling the ball overhead, and Mike Evans is over top. Like,
especially with Hufanga, I don't know. I think that's how you name his. Let's pronounce his last name, Hufanga. With him out, that secondary is even weaker now.
It's Hufanga.
Hufanga. Okay, sorry. Not Hufanga. Hufanga.
Hufanga.
Hufanga. Wait, what?
God, they got some injuries, bro.
It's the Niners.
They got some injuries.
Give it a week.
Brock
DMC
Purdy
will
played
be up.
amazing. Was going to bet Bulls. 8.5. Don't bring basketball into my show, Race. Love you, brother, but don't bring basketball on my show. Or whatever you are. Brother.
Sister.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bills demolished in that game, to be honest.
They should have.
Oh, he meant to say Bills.
Bills.
He did say, he corrected himself. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
You corrected
sorry.
yourself. I saw it.
But no, the Bills needed to, because if the Bills didn't dominate in that game and they only won by a field goal, they would be considered, I don't know if I want to say frauds, but they would not be considered.
If the Bills lost to the Jets.
No, I'm saying if they only won by 3.
If the Bills got swept by the Jets, Bills would have been out of the playoffs. Count them out.
McDermott
Count
would
them
have been
out.
fired.
He might have been fired that day.
Needs to.
He
I'm
might have
sorry.
been fired that day.
I know you.
I'm not going to lie. Hey, speaking of firings, Zach Wilson lost his job today, right?
He's a third now. They demoted him to the third stringer.
That's probably where he should be. He should be sitting with Trey Lance.
What, just in a
Trey Lance, a third
watching
string in
film?
Dallas.
He should.
I mean, you're not playing well. You're not.
It's hard being a
He had
starting
one game.
quarterback. Let's be honest. It's very hard being a starting quarterback.
I could do it better than Zach Wilson. I am an it, technically, because I'm conscious.
That's a good one. We need Aaron here with
We
the
need
dad
Aaron
jokes.
for the dad jokes at the end of the show, man. He's probably just sitting there like, I'm listening to you guys. I just don't like to chat anymore. But yeah, no, it's so Zach Wilson. Who took his job? I can't remember his name.
Bolton.
Joe for Beats. Michael Bolton.
Nick Bolton.
The
Hold on.
the
Nick Bolton.
the guy who
the
bombs
guard.
the guy who bombs other countries. Michael Bolton.
Excuse me?
I have it right here. Hold on. I didn't sweep it out of my notifications on purpose. Or it swept itself. Here it
Tim
is.
Boyle.
He beat me to it.
Google, baby. You got
So
fast
yeah,
fingers.
Tim Boyle is now the backup.
That's the wife.
If the Jets lose next week, I do not see Aaron Rodgers in. Bro, Race. Really? I just saw that, bro.
Ambulance. Yep. Well, hell,
Oh
you
my
gotta
God.
load Watson and Burrow on the ambulance as well as Mark Andrews.
Wee woo, wee woo. Race, did you really have to do that, man?
You know,
I had a solid 2 weeks without you bringing up wee woo.
at the end of the year race, I'm going to get a shirt that has every major injury on it.
And the ambulance.
And the ambulance. It's going to be DeMar Hamlin's on the face of an ambulance. And it's going to have all the other faces. Burrow.
You should. Oh
Hurt.
my, that might be pretty funny. that legitimately could be a pretty funny shirt.
Just week 1. these guys.
Or just like the ambulance and then a gurney with all the heads. Just the heads.
Just trailing them.
And then guys that won't be back, you put them in a hearse on the back. Zach Wilson's healthy, but he's in a hearse. Trey Lance is in a hearse. Oh, man.
Wow.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. All right. Race, hey, sorry to see you jump in so late in chat. We're pretty much done with the show today.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else. We've been here since about 5:20 today.
Any final thoughts?
I don't have anything really this week. I know that you guys will all have a hopefully wonderful Thanksgiving. You'll see me Thanksgiving morning.
I will not be back until Monday.
I will not have Wheels on the show, so I'd love for you guys to come in and chat. Yeah, come in and chat with Wheels, and then we can have a full conversation. I will have a pretty decent script because I will do a lot of research on these games.
That was hilarious. I'm happy you brought that up. I forgot about that.
I agree with that.
That Steelers defender got so angry. He's like,
it was an offensive lineman, and guess who it was? Broderick Jones.
is it really?
Yeah, it was Broderick Jones, who had no part of that situation. He just knew because
he's just like, oh,
he's
no.
like, Miles with a helmet. Miles, bro. Like, I need that. I need that.
Nah.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Kenny Pickett didn't make any racial slurs towards Myles Garrett. So I'd like to be honest, and they have not released the audio of Mason Rudolph to this day.
They never will.
So
why do you think Mason Rudolph was done after that?
I think if Myles would have came out and said what Mason actually said,
I think
Myles would have been forgiven, I think.
I think part of the thing was Myles being reinstated in the following year. They're like, hey, this is going to be your suspension and you're fine if you don't say anything.
I think it was a hush for sure. For sure.
Well, yeah.
But wait till Marquise Pouncey comes out 20 years from now and he's on a podcast and he's like, bro, man, I had a hard time saying shit to Mason because I know what he said.
Did you see what Ben Roethlisberger said about Kenny Pickett when he came out? He hated Kenny.
So speaking of Ben, I didn't see the podcast. I saw the clip of him watching the game, and I was watching the game, and Kenny Pickett made this throw, right? This one throw where there was no receiver in sight. First thing I said is, how is that not intentional grounding?
It should have been because he wasn't out of the pocket.
He wasn't out of the pocket. There was not a receiver in 70 yards. Good arm.
The only guy that there was a floating safety for the Browns.
And it made no sense. But they didn't throw the intentional grounding. And I was like, well, how is that not? I don't care if he wasn't under duress.
I think Rodney McLeod was the only one out there, yeah.
How is that not intentional grounding?
I don't know.
Speaking of people that are like not there, McLeod is out for the season. Or Mitchell? Mitchell.
No, Rodney McLeod.
He's out for the season. Took the injury. It was McLeod or Mitchell. I don't remember if it was Mitchell or McLeod. He's out for the year.
Got hurt yesterday?
Yeah. Yep. He is out for the year.
Dude.
So we lost one of our secondaries.
You got to add him to the ambulance now.
So I thought we were just adding quarterbacks.
But that's fine. We'll just do quarterbacks.
We'll just do quarterbacks in the ambulance. Or I guess we can add who's... Well, I guess, yeah. Oh, my God.
Well, let's do key players. How about that?
Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, but out for the rest of the season, but I said...
McLeod? Yeah, that's a big hit on the secondary. But, I mean, hopefully...
Depth-wise, yes, it is.
Hopefully Ward's back and Juan Thornhill's back eventually. So, but why don't you give your takeaways and then I'll close it down.
Have a great holiday with your family. Ham is better than turkey.
That's it. Okay. Don't disagree with him. Yeah. But if you're gonna cook a turkey, buy a turkey, thaw it out days early, brine your turkey for 24 hours.
Dry brine.
No. Put it in a liquid brine with like vinegar and apple cider and just water and let it sit in the brine for 24 hours. Pull it out, dab it off, dry it off. And then when you're done with that, I got this great hint this weekend. We had a phenomenal Friendsgiving at church. And what he did was he mixed butter with maple syrup and basted it on the outside, and then he smoked it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I ate it, and I thought it was ham initially because I was like, this is so sweet. This is phenomenal. And then I got the saltiness of the brine behind it. It was very good and moist. That's exactly how I would cook a turkey. And actually, that is how I'm going to cook my turkey on my Friendsgiving, where people show up, because I'm going to smoke a turkey. That was just for you guys out there who, maybe not understand that we do a lot of other things outside of just talk football here.
Noted.
I cook every Sunday. Well, I used to cook every Sunday. Nobody shows up anymore. So we used to cook every Sunday meals. So that being said, wonderful Thanksgiving. I will see you guys Thanksgiving morning. I will have a quick show for Thanksgiving morning. because I am going to go to a turkey bowl and try not to get injured this year.
Oh God, don't tear your ACL.
So I'm going to try not to get injured this year. Ryan actually refused to invite me, but I forced him to invite me. So that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving and don't eat too much tryptophan.